Alright guys, TacticalRab Mack again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Huge developments ahead of the second week of the Major 4 qualifiers, with the CDL going back to a multi-platform esports league for the first time in a very long time. No YouTube, no Twitch exclusivity. It's YouTube and Twitch going forwards. This is a great thing for the community, I think. Lots of positive reactions, but Scump is somewhat concerned this might just mean a step towards going back to YouTube full time. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. Plenty to discuss. Firstly, some new maps are going to arrive in Season 3. There are, okay, you've got this Lighthouse map and this Black Gold map, which is the same name as the CSGO map from back in the day. So, wonder if Infinity want to go to copy and paste that one as well. There's a couple of other maps they're bringing in as well. Battle maps, whatever they call them. So, not exactly sure what the plan is here. A couple of gunfight things. I don't think this will be in time to really shake up anything to do with the map pool. By the time these maps arrive into the game and have been tested, is there going to be enough time for Major 5 and Champs? Probably not. I think really the last and final call was when Expo came in. Teams won't want to change much for Major 5 and Champs. They'll want to keep things relatively the same, I think. There has been some screenshots noted, though. This is a potential new map. It looks a bit like Seatown, people are saying, from Modern Warfare 3, which actually was played as a competitive map back then. There were some legendary moments on it. So, I don't know. It doesn't look the same, exactly, and the layout isn't identical, but nonetheless, there are some similarities in play, potentially, so just want to keep your eyes on, I suppose. Also, quick bit of Challengers drama. Guerrillas' team played Doug's team last night, and Game 1 pristinely blue-screened and lagged out. The admins gave Doug's team the win, and I know there was some controversy there, because I guess Guerrillas and co thought that maybe they should have just replayed it. The admins decided differently. Doug also going to disagree with that, and, you know, Pristini wasn't particularly happy. But in the end, Guerrillas and co reverse swept them, won the Game 5. Pristini and Guerrillas are kind of happy about it. Yeah, Dylan, Rex, Pristini, Classic, and Gunners. That is the, well, Gunners have been doing rather well, especially in this specific series, and Doug's team go down. However, they did beat Zero's team in the losers bracket, advanced into top 6 in the Challengers Elite playoffs, so we'll see how that one goes over the coming days. Also, confirmation from the Mutineers that Vikul is in the starting roster now. Kind of funny, really, because when we discussed yesterday that Havoc was gone, like, in my head, I was like, oh, Vikul's coming in, because everyone was saying that Vikul's coming in, and those were the rumours. But I realised that Mutineers actually didn't confirm that, nor did the league. They only had confirmed that Havoc was gone, so there could have been an alteration there, but yeah, as expected, Vikul is stepping back into the starting team here for the Mutineers. I thought he was actually pretty good when he was on this team initially. Of course, they made the capsule change and Havoc was staying and all this stuff, and now Havoc is stepping away for personal reasons, as they described yesterday, so Vikul's back in. They played today. I don't imagine it's going to go particularly well, but I thought Vikul was a solid player, but it's just this roster man wasn't particularly impressive with Havoc. I don't expect them to get any better here with Vikul, or at least significantly better. They might improve, bit of a honeymoon period. We'll see. Different vibes, different chemistry, but a big game for these guys tonight against Surge in what might just be their last and final call to try and put any sort of World Championship qualification challenge together. Also wanted to mention this screenshot. Yesterday I watched for the first time in a long time an OpTic Maniac vlog, and during it he gave the camera to Hex. He went around the NVHQ and he came across the OpTic team scrimming up against, well, we don't really know who they were scrimming against. He didn't want to show it or reveal anything. However, you could see that they had won 250 to 134 against, this is the best quality screenshot I can possibly grab, so I don't think you're ever going to read these names on screen. Maybe give it a go. But I know that in the comms, someone called out Lamar. Now, I don't know, this is Hotel, I don't know if they were calling out Lamar as in a spot on Hotel that they call Lamar, because that's accuracy, of course, on Seattle, and in certain maps in CoD history, such as Berlin last year in Vanguard, there were certain spots that were called Lamar spots because, you know, accuracy likes to go to certain power positions and is known for doing so. Therefore, the teams sometimes come up with call-outs based on a certain player's name. It's happened in other games as well. So I don't know if it was that or whether they were scrimming Seattle, but if they were playing Seattle, 250, 134 on Hotel is a pretty good result. But it's just kind of funny, right, that OpTic have been saying they've been throwing in scrims. Hex turns up for just one random map here and they smoke these guys 100 points in their favour. So pretty interesting, but yeah, we'll see how it goes for OpTic. They don't play today, but we'll have a look at the matches, of course, in a few minutes' time. Dashy's having a good time for potentially multiple reasons, but there are, well, the matches this week get harder for OpTic, let's just say that. And OpTic versus Thieves is going to be a banger when we finally get to that point in not that long from now. This is also a big development. The first big development of the day from the Call of Duty League side was this new Twitter account, Call of Duty Esports, COD_Esports. And initially all it said was the official home of Call of Duty Esports on Twitter, which is, I was like, well, hang on a second here, Call of Duty Esports, like, you know, isn't the CDL Call of Duty Esports, but no, they've got COD Esports here, and it's going to cover World Series of Warzone and Challenges, and that says coming coming soon. Now, to be honest here, will this account do a better job of covering challenges than the rotation will or than CDC Intel will? I'm not so sure. I think those guys are still going to do an admirable job, but it's still great to see, right, the idea that the CDL is actually interested in having a platform to cover challenges, because right now the CDL Twitch will occasionally retweet the challenges stream, but there's no dedicated coverage there, as there was meant to be the three pillars of the CDL logo, the fans, the pros, and the challenges ecosystem. Hasn't really worked out like that. But the World Series of Warzone stuff, very interesting, and this was confirmed yesterday what the format is going to be for 2023 on effectively a Warzone competitive scene, culminating in an actual LAN event. There's online qualifiers and regional finals, then there's an actual LAN event, and it's funny in a way because Warzone fell off massively, and they should have done this when Warzone was popping off, but now they've like waited for Warzone to basically die, and now they're like, oh, here you go, here's a big competitive scene, 1.2 million prizing, and you know, it's going to be cool, don't get me wrong, it'll bring some interest back to Warzone, but they could have nailed this when you know, when Warzone was actually popular, since they've waited for it to kind of decline a bit, and now they're going to bring in the pretty interesting competitive rotation and ecosystem. So we'll see. Pretty cool stuff. This coincides with Warzone Ranked as well, and yes, September when the World Series of Warzone is going to be. So it's interesting to see actually whether over this period any of the pro teams, because you know obviously the pros are going to be pretty good at Warzone as well, whether those guys can somehow get involved here, because there's a last chance qualifier here in July, which is after the World Championship. So maybe some of the pros will think, you know what, let's just get a team together here and try and qualify for this, because it could be pretty spicy as well. The ideal world would be that the season we currently have for the CDL, because it ends in only a couple of months really, I mean it's middle of June, the World Championship. I wish there was another major cycle and it would end in July, August, something like that. Ideally maybe it would end in even September, and that there would be an extra couple of major cycles, so you could host Champs and the World Series of Warzone like at the same time. I think interesting idea here from Jacob Hale, so I don't know, just one interesting idea I suppose. But the big news of the day was this from the COD League. Season update starting this Friday, i.e. today. The CDL is live on both YouTube and Twitch. So youtube.com/thecod League, twitch.tv/Call of Duty. Now, this is something that we've been asking for quite a long time. It was on YouTube for the last couple of seasons. It was definitely hindering the growth of the esports. Then Twitch came along, everyone moved over there, and it's been killing it on Twitch, right? The numbers have been out of control. The watch parties are still going to go down on Twitch, but I'm guessing now with YouTube being available as well, it's going to open up more avenues, right? And I think generally, the more eyes they can get on the product, the better it is. Yes, on YouTube, it's sometimes difficult to find, but still, the YouTube stream, I don't know what it's going to average, maybe 20, 30k or something. I'm sure most people will still go to Twitch and do the watch parties and all this, but YouTube is, frankly, and I know I've mentioned this in the past when I talk about keeping it on Twitch, which I think we should do, but, you know, people are mentioning in the comments every time, and I think for good reason. The YouTube watching experience is superior. The pausing, the rewinding, the quality is better on YouTube than it is on Twitch. So from a pure viewership perspective, if you're like an actual fan that's already discovered the scene, YouTube can be better for you. If you want to do the watch parties, go to Twitch, and obviously if you're a new fan or just arriving for the first time, you're more likely to discover the scene on Twitch, I think, than you are on YouTube, given the way that live streaming on YouTube is not particularly advanced, I think, in how it delivers that content to new people, whereas Twitch, the community is going to be bigger and all this stuff, and it's kind of been the home of esports for some time. So this is really cool stuff. I think it was clear really when the season started and we were going to Twitch that there was no deal in place. They hadn't signed a deal with Twitch. They just decided, you know what, let's go to Twitch and see how that works, and it's worked rather well. And now they thought, well, we've got no deal in place with either platform, let's go to both platforms and see how that goes. Now, I think this is going to be a great thing. To be honest, when I first saw this, I was like, oh my god, COD back on YouTube, like, yeah, it struck me, and then I realized, okay, we're still on Twitch, thankfully, right, because there were some rumors going around, especially during Major 2 in Boston, that we were going to go back to YouTube full-time for Major 3 and beyonds, which would have been, I think, a big mistake. Now, in fairness, in the longer term, media rights deals are one of the only ways we're actually going to make this esport profitable. At some point in the future, we've got to, you know, lock down with a platform and broadcast there, and whatever money is associated with that. But for the short term, this operation of having it on a multi-platform basis is, I think, way better for the growth of the scene. We've seen a lot of growth in viewership and numbers and interest over the last few months with it being on Twitch, and that's set to continue. Now, maybe next year, maybe the year after, the CDL will decide, all right, now it's time to go back to an exclusive deal, and they will use the additional viewership they get from doing it on both platforms to sell those numbers and those metrics to whatever platform wants to actually give them a deal for it, or there's nothing really that will happen, and we're going to sell at this for the longer term. So I think in general, this is a massive W. I know there's been a lot of support for this because people like the YouTube side, they also like the Twitch side. This is the best of both worlds, that it's on both platforms. I think it's a good thing in general. It has been a little bit concerning though for Scump and for myself as well, because I see this as, all right, YouTube's coming back. Is that a step towards going back to YouTube full time? Maybe not, but I'm not really so sure. So as Clay says, probably the best solution. Good job to the COD League, and Scump drops the W. And obviously, well, I'll just share this where he says, yeah, great thing, but you know, is this just a step towards going back to YouTube all the time? I don't know, but it's an understandable concern, I think.
Wait, Zid, we haven't talked about it. What do you think about the news? Twitch and YouTube. The one thing that I hope doesn't happen from that, I hope that this isn't like them trying to make like peace with the community. You know what I'm saying? Like trying to make it seem like they're on the community side, and then it's just gonna full switch to YouTube. You know what I'm saying?
Like a soft launch. They're soft launching YouTube.
Yes, exactly, like a soft launch.
It's like when people are in a relationship and they finally post, and like they start off by like, instead of posting each other on Instagram, what they do is they'll post like a picture of like a wine glass and the guy's hand holding it, and that's the soft launch. Then the hard launch is the real photo. So right now they're soft launching. That would be insane.
That's what I'm saying, bro. I feel like
that would be insane.
I feel like they might be buttering us up right now, dude.
The reason why I'm confident that it might not be a return to an exclusive platform in the near future is because Murph here from Oxygen, involved in the Boston project, thrilled by this, very happy for feedback from ownership groups to be incorporated. While it may seem like this is a given, this is a great step towards making CoD League the most watched esports property on Earth. Now, I thought this first part was very interesting, right? The idea that a lot of the ownership groups had got involved and discussed with the CDL, like, hey, we want to stay on Twitch, this is how we want to do it, we're happy to forgo that media rights revenue for the short term to grow the scene. And you know, at the end of the day, these organizations, given the money they've paid, they're got to be thinking 10 years down the line anyway. So cashing in on some short-term media rights revenue from YouTube doesn't make sense if it's going to hinder the growth of the scene. So it's interesting to see that the ownership groups seem to agree, and Boston agreed on that. And if the CDL have effectively backtracked on their idea that they were having around Major 2, or Activision were having, to lock in a deal with YouTube, the owners have said, no, let's not do it, and they've been listened to, and that definitely inspires some confidence in me that this will remain the status quo for the near and medium term. Also, an update from Toronto confirming when and where the Toronto event is going to be. I'm planning to attend this one. I'm sure it's going to be a cracker. The Matamy Athletics Center, I believe it's the same venue as last season, actually, May 25th, 28th. So you know, that was officially confirmed. Tickets available now, all that good stuff. Just before we discuss the matches of the day, wanted to mention Team of the Major. They went for, I believe this was fan voted. I always forget whether it's fan voted or whether they come up with it. I think it's fan voted. So Scrappy, aBeZy, Prid, and Shotzzy. I know there was some discussion they should have put CleanX in instead of Prid or something, but I think they did a pretty good job on this one, to be perfectly honest. Like, I don't think they could have chosen, or the fans could have chosen, a much better team in the Major than this. I believe, what was it, Major 1 or Major 2, sorry, when Scump got in the team of the Major, despite having played like one series online that time, which I thought was pretty funny. So, you know, I guess fan voted makes those type of things happen. But this time the fans, I think, did a rather good job. These are the three games then of the day. So Ravens, they of course don't have a new team, but they've been struggling lately. They play up against the Boston Breach. Boston, you'd expect them to get the job done here. Florida plays Surge as well. So Florida with their team, Surge need to get a victory. And these are all bounty matches, right? I mean, also it's interesting the fact that they partner with Prime, which is of course Amazon, they own Twitch, and now they're streaming that on YouTube. It's pretty interesting stuff. But these are all bounty games for an extra 10k. Now, you know, I don't know if bounty games are really the best thing that they could be doing with that $10,000, but whatever. The winners of these series get 10k split between the players, and you know, I'm sure they're going to have the money raining down from the sky and all this, like, Puckett will chuck some money up when they win the series and stuff. They've done that the last couple of years. Maybe they'll have something even more spectacular this time, but Surge should get the job done against Mutineers. The final series, though, to me is very interesting. Rokkr versus Subliners, because Subliners have been, okay, they beat FaZe last week. They're still a good team. Now, Rokkr, they came off a 2-0 stomp show at their LAN event they held in Wisconsin. This is the time for Rokkr Rokkr to prove they're a legit force. If they beat Subliners here, I'm very confident that Rokkr make the World Championship this year. I think they still will, but and Vegas are chasing them, but I still think Rokkr should have enough in the tank this season. But if they lose to Subliners, then, you know, this Vegas really need Rokkr to lose to Subliners. If Rokkr start at 3-0 this stage, like, it's going to be tough for Vegas, I think, to start closing the gap. There's still time and there's still chances, but this is a big series tonight to prove from Minnesota's side that their wins, they were dominant on LAN, weren't just, you know, home crowd fluke events, and they can actually do it, or at least go the distance against a good team. I think that I'm going to take Subliners in 5. I feel like Minnesota are going to be competitive, but I don't know. I feel like New York Search and Destroy lately, they've obviously been focusing on it, and I feel like they might be able to get over the line here. But very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.